Hi guys, a very good morning to you all. So here we are today yet again to learn the last part of paper 4 of your CSCET, that is your presentation and communication skills. I was really looking forward, really hoping to have these classes face to face because current affairs to nahi ho paya, that we had to do it online itself. But given the situation now, I think we are forced to do the entire paper 4 online itself. So let's continue. And today we are going to start with that 30 marks portion which is remaining. So let me reiterate again what I had told you in the first class. So out of these 50 marks, it is divided as 20 and 30 each. Okay, so this portion we have already completed. So now we are focusing on your presentation and communication skills, which is also known as the Viva OC or the Viva OC. Okay, so that will be for 30 marks. But the thing here is you will be given only 15 minutes. Okay, so your reading skill and typing skills are something which you have to work on. And the interesting part here is no domain knowledge will be tested. Okay, so you don't need to have core knowledge of any particular field. The thing that they are trying to find out in this particular portion is they want to check your fluency in English, and they want to see how good you are in English communication, basic English communication. So this is not something which is really difficult. You've been reading this from your class 10, 12, and if you're able to hold a good conversation in English for at least 3 to 5 minutes, this portion should not be difficult at all for you, right? And one more interesting point is there is no negative marking. Okay, in the entire all your 4 papers as well as this portion, there is no negative marking, so there is no fear about losing marks for any wrong answer. Now, how is this communication skills tested in your CSCET exam? It is done on the day of your CSCET exam only. It is a CBT exam. Okay, it is a computer based test. So first you have all your paper 1, 2, 3 and 4. In 4, you complete your current affairs portions, after which they will ask you questions related to oral communication and written communication. Now whenever I say written communication, it doesn't again involve your paper pen mode. It again involves typing on your computer, right? So now let's see what all we have to learn in this Viva OC. Yeah, so the questions here given, now this is a framework given by the ICSI, the institute. Okay, but the interesting thing here to note is that there is no reference material as such here for your paper 1, 2, 3 as well as for your current affairs. They've given you some sort of reference material. Again, it's not study material. Okay, they've given you only a reference, a framework to read. Also, they've given the names of a couple of websites and books that you can refer to. But here for your presentation skills, they've only released some sample questions through your e-bulletins, which I've all collated and put it here. So based on that questions, I could at least have an idea about what your syllabus is going to be and have prepared your material in that particular way. So there's no need to worry. We can read this much and we can be sure that we'll be able to ace this communication skills part. Okay, so now what is expected from a candidate here? Firstly, they are focusing on testing your grammar as well as vocabulary skills. Now this is something which you already know, and major part of it comes from your paper 1, that is your business communication, right? Then they'll play some audio clips, right? It can either be a monologue or a dialogue. A monologue, as you know, they can give you some extract from a person's speech, and based on that they can ask you certain MCQs. For example, they can make you listen to a speech and they can give you an MCQ such as, what was the tone of the person in this speech? A, happy, B, angry, C, revolting, or option B, humorous. So based on the speech which you just heard, you have to actually select what the tone of the person was, what his feeling was actually there when he was speaking. So you might get such kind of questions. or in this video audio clip only, they might give you some dialogue. Now, as you know, dialogue, they might make you listen to a conversation between two people. For example, a person is asking certain directions to a place and the other person is actually giving those directions. Now, based on those kind of conversations, you will be asked to answer some multiple choice questions, right? Then they might ask you to correct a given paragraph. There'll be a small paragraph at that. You might be asked to correct some articles there, a and the, or the tense given in the question might be incorrect. Past tense, present tense, future tense, you might have to correct that. Or the sentences might not be arranged in the appropriate way. You might have to arrange those jumbled words to make, complete a perfect sense. So that might be the kind of questions that you might get in this topic. Then you have short note writing, essay writing, and the précis writing. Now, given the constraint of time, what I would suggest is, it can be of any topic, mind you, these three, writing part. In short note, I would say maximum you can write around 4 lines, right? In essay writing, I would prefer if you write around 10 lines, 8 to 10 lines. And in précis writing, around, I think 6 lines are more than enough, okay? In précis writing, they will obviously give you a comprehension beforehand. Reading that comprehension, you have to summarize it in such a way that it becomes a perfect précis, right? Now that you have to write either of these questions or any 2 of these questions might come. Since the time limit is only 15 minutes, you have to be really good at typing. So what I would suggest is every day try to learn typing. Okay, you might have a computer at home, a laptop, or you can have a friend who might be able to help you at that time. So at least some level of typing on a notepad or something will actually help you prepare for this exam. Topic is something you can actually, write 3-4 lines on any topic. That much confidence I have on you people. But typing is something which you have to generate that skill yourself, right? So this was about your listening skills and written skills. Last part, what we are going to test here is about your oral communication skills. Candidates are expected to answer a question, speak on a given topic, or explain a given term. So they might give you a topic and ask you to at least say 3 to 4 lines on that particular topic. Or they can ask you a really simple question saying, tell me something about yourself, or why did you choose this particular company secretary course? So you should be in a position to actually speak fluently without using any fillers for at least 3 minutes continuously, right? Or they might give you one particular term and they might ask you to explain that term in simple English, or they might ask you to use that term in a particular sentence, right? So those kind of things can be asked in this oral portion. Now, this is the entire framework of presentation and communication skills. Now, how do we go about learning this? According to me, if you ace this 2 topics, grammar and vocabulary, the other 2 parts will become a cakewalk for you. If you're really good at grammar and if you know a wide range of words, in that case, you can really ace the oral communication skills without much effort, right? So having said that, let's start the topic for today. Let's at least, go ahead with some parts of the chapter on vocabulary, right? So now for this vocabulary chapter, there is no dearth of questions. You can have questions from anywhere, right? You can even refer to your grammar or NCERT books, which have a lot of you can have a lot of practice over there. So I have chosen very good words here for your practice, and I've given certain answer keys also. Some we will solve in class, right? So what is this entire uproar about vocabulary? Okay, it is just a group or a wide range of words in any particular language. Every language has its own set of rich vocabulary. Now that we're learning English and we are focusing here, we need to improve our vocabulary here. Now let's read whatever is given here. The term vocabulary is defined as the body of words used in a particular language. Every language, as I told you, has a very rich tradition, has a rich range of words. It is also called as word stock, lexicon and lexi. Right? So there are different synonyms itself for the word vocabulary. Right? Now this is something that we cannot sit and by heart or learn or memorize from a very young age. Certain things we need to learn, and certain things comes from the influence of the surroundings, the people around us, etc. Right? Now let me tell you how English developed. Okay, English has a wide range of words which from Latin and Greek. Now just in India, if you see, all the languages have their source from Sanskrit. The same way, most of your European languages and English have taken a very rich source of words from Latin and Greek. If you see many words in economics, if you're an economics student, you must be knowing that the root word of economics comes from which language? You must have read it. There are many other words which come from Latin and Greek. You must have read in your business studies and economics subjects respectively. Okay. Similarly, other local languages also have borrowed from English. Now, for example, if you are asked to speak in your mother tongue, right? Let it be Hindi, Malayalam, English for 3 to 5 minutes continuously. It is very difficult for any person to speak in pure Kannada or pure Hindi. There is always a chance that we mix up some common words used in English, right? So there is influence of English on other languages. There is influence of other languages on English in turn. Now, for example, there are many words in the English dictionary which have been borrowed from other languages, right? I can give you the best example is the word called paneer. You've all gone to these, fancy hotels, restaurants, dhabas. Everywhere you find this paneer paratha, right? What is this paneer? It is fancily called as cottage cheese in English. But this word finds a place in the English dictionary also. So you can imagine the extent of, how famous this word is. The other word used is masala. Okay, spice, masala, masala. Now that word has been used in its original Hindi form across the world. Instead of saying spicy, people actually say masala in most of the menus written. So you can see that that every language has an influence on English, and the other way around is also possible. Now, why am I giving you so much of history? Okay, because this vocabulary is something that we cannot learn only by reading books or reading newspapers. Of course, that is a major part, but the other part is also by listening to people or, just speaking the similar kind of words day in and day out. So let us see which kind of sense has more influence on our vocabulary, whether it is the listening or whether it is the writing or whether it is the verbal or the spoken word. Right? Chalo, let's read. The term vocabulary has a wide range of meanings and thus can be divided in many different ways. Word knowledge is often divided into the following 4 types: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The first or the biggest base of the words from where we derive all our vocabulary is through listening. This type of vocabulary refers to the words we hear and comprehend. Most adults can identify and comprehend almost around 50,000 words. कभी लगता नहीं है ना कि हम लोग 50,000 वर्ड्स को जानते हैं. It actually happens. We all know these many number of words, or at least plus or minus 5,000 if we can say that, but consciously we don't make an effort to remember or memorize whatever we listen. That's why we actually find this number a little overwhelming, right? So Chalo, theek hai, we know around 50,000 words, but do we use them in our conversations? Not possible. Therefore, let's read point number 2. Speaking vocabulary. This type of vocabulary refers to the words which we speak, which we use in a conversation. We barely use 10,000. Look at the difference, people. We know 50,000 words, but we hardly use 10,000 words for communication. It actually becomes a habit. Whenever you try to talk to a particular group of people, we kind of end up using the same words, similar words to talk to a particular group. So that is probably one of the reasons that we hardly use 20% of our capacity of our rich knowledge of words. The third part is reading vocabulary. Now, point number 1 and 2 is something which happens naturally without putting any extra effort, listening and speaking, and this happens from the time we are very small, okay, from the time when we are infants. But reading vocabulary is something that happens because of our effort. Reading vocabulary refers to the words we recognize when we read any text. Any text here refers to any novel, newspaper, a small piece of paper. It can be anything. If a person is a reader, then this type of vocabulary happens to be the second largest vocabulary, right? Only if such a person is a reader. Otherwise, you have to derive your vocabulary from points 1 and 2, that is listening and speaking itself, right? So this point number 3, let me tell you again, this requires effort from your end. ऐसे ही ये reading vocabulary नहीं मिलेगा. The last part is your point number 4, writing vocabulary. This type of vocabulary represents those words which we use while writing to express ourselves. Now, we might have read so many words, but can we use them in our daily communication, or can we use certain words while writing something? You might be a fan of, poetry or, the medieval ages, but can you use that kind of English, Shakespeare in English, while writing a business letter now? Not possible. So your reading vocabulary and your writing vocabulary, the range of difference is very high. जो भी आप पढ़ते हो वो लिख नहीं सकते. It will not be relevant to the context what you are writing about in that particular time, right? So these are the 4 different ways from which we learn. Again, point number 1 and 2 happens naturally from the time when we are infants. 3 and 4 happens as the time we grow, as in when we go and learn from school, college, from our surroundings, from our group of friends, right? Now, so इसमें से कुछ आएगा क्या एग्जाम में? पता नहीं. Maybe as MCQs. But this was only like an introduction as to tell you how and where you can improve the most. If you can identify in which point you are a little lagging behind, you can work on that particular point. Maybe you're a little lazy to read extra books or newspapers or something. Maybe you can work on point number 3. Or let's say you read a lot, but you hardly, write anything. So that's the reason you make a lot of grammar and spelling mistakes. Then probably you have to pay more attention on point number 4, that is on writing. So now diving into the main syllabus, right? So what is that they are going to ask you in these MCQs? They might ask you to identify synonyms, antonyms, etc. Now, what are these synonyms? Synonyms are those words which have similar meanings, okay? See, similar meanings, not the same meaning. What do you mean by the word same? Same means 100% exactly, ditto, copy. Similar means more or less it is almost the same, but it is not 100% same. It is not identical, okay? It is only words that have similar meanings. Sometimes you can use synonyms interchangeably in sentences, but sometimes you have to use words based on their context, right? Then you have something called as antonyms. Antonyms means opposite of these words. Now we knew that we have read these opposite of words from the time we are in class 6 and 7. But antonym is a perfect way or a very better way of saying things. Rather than saying it's the opposite of a word, you can say it's the antonym of a word. Now this is something new probably which we have not done before in our syllabus anywhere. Connotations. What are connotations? They are the words that invoke an idea or a feeling when you read or hear something. See, certain words have vibes associated with them. Okay, vibe. Let me write it down for you. Vibe is a particular kind of a feeling or emotion. Now, if I say I have been following you on Instagram, how will you feel? Happy? अच्छा लग रहा है ना? You have a lot of followers and all. ठीक है. Now, I can say the word following has a positive vibe associated. Now, if I say I have been stalking you, what will be your reaction? See, the word stalking has a kind of negative feeling associated with it, right? The moment I say stalking, दिमाग में क्या आता है? Cyber crime, cyber police. You have some kind of bad emotion associated with it. So the usage of such words in sentences are known as connotations. So here, one important point I have to tell you in this chapter because of this connotation point is that it's not only enough to know a wide range of words. कब क्या शब्दों का इस्तेमाल करना है वो भी जानना जरूरी है. What word you speak in what context, in what sentence you are using that word also makes a lot of difference, right? So pay attention to that. Then we'll go into every point in detail. I'm just giving you a summary, okay? Don't worry. Next kind of thing that you'll be learning here is about foreign words. Words that have been borrowed from other languages. I told you this in the introduction itself. I gave you one example, paneer. Another example I can give you is avatar. Okay, it's a Hindi word, it's a Sanskrit word, but there has been the biggest Hollywood film also has been made based on this name, Avatar. And in Tamil, there's a word called Kattumaran. Okay, Kattumaran. The same meaning, the same word you have already heard in English, but you didn't know that it was derived from an Indian language. Have you heard of this word? Hey, novel readers, you must have heard of this word, catamaran. It's an elongated boat-like structure, right? So the same word, the root of this word is Kattumaran. From an Indian language, South Indian language, it has been incorporated in your English dictionary as catamaran, right? So these are, I can give you so many examples which have been derived from so many languages into the English dictionary, and new and newer words have been added to the Oxford Dictionary every year, So this was about foreign words. And then you have idioms. What are idioms? Idioms are a group of words that have a meaning which are different from their literal meaning, right? I can tell you an example. Reading between the lines. Okay, it doesn't mean you have a book with lines and you are supposed to read in between. Reading between the lines means to understand something much deeper. जैसा दिख रहा है वैसा है नहीं. So you are actually understanding something much deeper. So the literal meaning might be something different, but what I am trying to convey to you is totally different. Such kind of words or such a kind of sentence is called idioms, right? Then lastly, you have phrasal verbs, which are multi-word verbs. You know what a verb is? Action words. Based on that, only you have a lot of multi-word verbs which you will incorporate in your sentences, right? So these are the entire 6 places or topics from which majority of MCQs are derived. And looking at the sample questions, they place a lot of importance on point number 1 and 2, that is your synonyms and antonyms. So let us perfect this point number 1 and 2 so that your chances of getting those coveted precious 1 mark will increase, right? So let's do the topic of synonyms for the day. Shall we start? Yes. So as I told you, synonyms are those words which have similar definition or meanings. I told you same and similar. are different. You should not say words that have the same definition. You should always say words that have the similar definition, okay, are known as synonyms. Two examples are given here. The long movie bored the viewers. Second sentence, the lengthy movie bored the viewers. Now again they are trying to tell you that the length of the movie influenced the viewers' feelings. That is what they are trying to tell you in point number 1 and 2. But you tell me, listening to these two sentences, look at it, it's available on your screen also. Point number 1 says the long movie. Point number 2 says the lengthy movie. Which sentence do you prefer to listen to? Sentence number 2, the lengthy movie bored the viewers, right? So both sentences, they are trying to convey the length of the movie, right? But somehow the word lengthy fits into this context better. So every time we need to choose a synonym, we need to see the context of the sentence or the context of the situation where we are talking about. Only then we have to choose that particular word. Okay, so 100% you cannot use synonyms interchangeably in every sentence. When to use what particular kind of word comes with practice, right? Now, let me give you one more example, a very good example, right? Let's read from here. Take the words cost, charge and fee. Now, what does this mean? Cost, charge and fee. Are they talking about cash inflow or outflow? They're talking about outflow. You are actually paying something to somebody, right? Cost, charge and fee. All are used to describe money you pay for something. But these three words are used in three different contexts. For example, the word cost. The total cost of the trip was 10,000 rupees. Okay? Sentence sounds good, right? Next word is charge. Now, charge is something that we can associate with some particular service given to us. Okay, what are the charges for this particular game? Or you can say, what are the monthly charges for this particular service? So charge is defined as an amount of money that is asked in return for goods or services. So whenever goods and services are involved, the word charge is better fit than using the word cost. Right? Now the last word used is fee. Now without looking at the textbook, you tell me what is the feeling that you get or what is the thing that pops up in your mind whenever I say the word fee. You are thinking about some profession maybe, or like somebody like a lawyer, a chartered accountant, a company secretary, etc. Professional fee. Or you're thinking about school and colleges, school fee or admission fee, etc. Right. So fee is defined as an amount of money that you have to pay for professional advice or services. Example, the lawyer charges a high fee for the service that he provides. Or you can say the new school charged a high fee as compared to the other schools for admission. Right. So the word cost, charge and fee, all the three are talking about cash outflow. But you use these words in particular context. Right. So I hope you got the subtle difference between synonyms. They have similar meanings, but they cannot be used interchangeably at every time. So there are some examples which I have collated here. Now one thing that I would like to tell you all is read your business communication paper 1 thoroughly for more examples. Even there, the topic of, synonyms, antonyms, homophones, homonyms, etc. all are covered. So I have taken only a few examples from there, around 4 or 5, and the rest I have given you some extra things here. So if you want a complete picture of, this topic of vocabulary, you have to read your paper 1 business communication as well as this portion, right? So let's see some more examples for synonyms. All these words are something that you have heard, okay? These are not some new Shashi Tharoor level words that I've brought in here. As and when you go through the words, you'll know that you have read it somewhere or the other. You must have heard this word abstain. What do you mean? Abstain means withhold. You can probably say curtail or refrain, right? You must have heard about the word brisk. They say brisk walk in the morning is very good for health. Okay, brisk means fast, not in a very slow or a lazy kind of motion. It refers to that bubbly or cheerfulness. So the synonym what you can use is lively or agile, right? So you can say he's a very lively person. Okay, he's always doing something, he's never sitting idle. Or another word you can say is very agile, he's very flexible, I can say. Then one more example I can give you is deteriorate. This you must have heard, right? When you're talking about goods, you're talking about the deterioration of goods. For example, I think you must have heard these words in economics, or when you're reading the Contract Act, etc., Sale of Goods Act, etc. They're talking about deterioration of goods. The similar meaning is about this word degenerate. Now, degenerate, this word is often associated with old age. Okay, this health of a person degenerates as and when he grows old. So, certain words are used in particular sentences. Now, a similar meaning here is decline. Now, decline, this word we use when we are talking about some particular trend. For example, we are nowadays everybody is talking only about the COVID graph. So we can say there is a probably a decline in the number of cases every day, or we can say a decline in the GDP of our country. So decline word we use when you are talking about a particular trend, right? Then hazardous. Now, hazardous, we are talking where you must have seen some boards on factories, hazardous, or when we are talking about biomedical waste, etc., we use the word hazardous. Dangerous is the most common synonym. We use it in our daily conversation also. And sometimes we say it is a very risky affair. Probably when we are talking about the stock market, or when we are talking about mutual funds, etc., we tend to use the word risky. Now, that's a risky affair. Stock market is a risky affair for people who don't have any knowledge about it. So even though the three words are talking about alertness or about impending danger, those three words are used or are a better fit in particular kinds of sentences, right? So I think around 15 examples are given. We have explained, I have explained around 4 in detail, right? So the next part is antonyms, but before we learn everything on the same day and jumble it up, let us try to solve some things on our own, right? Yes. So now this is an exercise which I have prepared. What we will do now is, since we have learned only the synonym part, we'll write down the synonyms. Antonyms padne ke baad mein we'll come back to this exercise and we'll fill up the other part of the table also, right? Let's start. What is the question? They want you to write a synonym and antonym for each of the following words. I think around 10 words are given. Around 12 words are given here, right? So let's see. If you already know, you can write it along with me, or maybe you can refer to a dictionary, or as and when the class progresses, you will definitely see an improvement in the range of words that you already know. Now, what do you mean by the word abhor? Abhor is to hate, or I can say detest someone. Okay. 2 synonyms I have given you for abhor. Then bombastic. Okay, now this word we actually say it in Kannada. Bombatagittu. We say, okay, when we are referring to something which is very nice or a little over the top. So for bombastic, I can say pompous. So I'm not talking about something which is actually good. Bombastic and pompous are used in the superlative degree, like your extreme, right? A little over the top, I can say. Or pompous ke baad I can say flamboyant. I'm writing it in a little bigger handwriting so that it doesn't cause any problem to you guys. Then cacophony. You must have heard this word in poetry or in any novel when you're talking about, a group of birds. That word is used in reference to some animal sounds, cacophony, right? I can say it's a harsh sound or yeah. See, if you have some better synonyms, please do reply on the chat box. We can probably incorporate it in our answer here. Done? Yeah. So next word is jovial, right? Jovial means I wouldn't say it is happy, it is cheerful, okay? Jovial is an expression, it is not just a feeling that you have inside, it is something that is evident on somebody's face. So I can use the word lively, or I can say cheerful. Next word, dirty. Now, this is a very common word, okay? It is overused. So, whenever you have an opportunity, try to use as many synonyms as you can. Instead of the dirty, probably we can say filthy. Filthy room, we can say, instead of using the word dirty. Or you can say unkempt. Unkempt, which is not kept tidy, right? Done. Next word is verdant. Now this you might have not heard of this word that often. This verdant refers to more of a colorful side. I can say it refers to something as grassy, or I can say this word is referred when you are talking about lush green mountains, etc. So this word is mostly used in your novels for describing a particular scene or nature. All economic students answer this. Destitute. Macroeconomics का chapter निकाल के बैठोगे, this word is there whenever you're reading about economy. Destitute means I can say poor, or more than poor, I think needy. This word is a better fit. Destitute. Incite. Inciting violence, you must have heard, right? So can I say arouse? Or more than this, I can say instigate. Instigate is a word, mind you, it is a synonym here. It can also be used as a connotation, because instigate means it probably has a little negative meaning to it, instigating someone or instigating someone for a violent act, etc. Right? Next word is scanty. The bushes are scattered scantily across the desert. What does it mean? It means less, or can I say a dearth? Dearth means abhav, okay? It means there is something, but it is not there in sufficient quantities. It is there in very less quantities. That is the meaning of scant, scanty, or dearth. Now, this word is general knowledge. This you must be knowing. Palatial. The root word of this word palatial is what? Palace. So you're able to make the connection, right? Palace, palatial. So palace से जुड़ा हुआ, tell me some words. I can say grand, or I can say elegant. Okay, again here it is something used in the superlative degree. I'm talking about something which is like too big, too magnificent, etc. Right? Then illicit. The word itself start with the suffix ill. Okay, so obviously here also it has to mean something which is illegal or unlawful. Done. This illicit and scanty, palatial, those were pretty easy words. Then you have the last word, facile. Facile means easy or simple. Now, tomorrow's task for you, instead of saying easy, try to use the word facile. We have overused easy and simple in our normal conversation. So let us try to avoid those words and try to use a little complicated words in our conversation, right? So these are only 2 words each that I have given, but in case you're able to find out a better synonym or another kind of word here, you can obviously write it down in your notebook, or you can reply in the chat box also the next time we go through this, and we have to also cover the antonym parts of it. Okay, so how are you feeling, guys? Are you feeling that this is manageable? Communication skills, they are not testing some core knowledge, or I'm not trying to teach you something which is 100% new. ये सब आपको आता है. We just have to fine tune or polish our skills, right? So I'm repeating again, they are not testing any domain knowledge. They are testing something which you already know. Therefore, you have to be a little more fluent in whatever you already know. And what is the thing that we learned today? We learned the introduction of this chapter of vocabulary, and also we learned the different types through which we learn these words. That is your listening, speaking, reading, and writing, in that particular order: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Then we also learned what kind of questions, what kind of MCQs you might get in this particular chapter. I told you you can get a question about synonyms, antonyms, connotations, about the use of foreign words, or maybe they can ask you a little about idioms and phrasal words. Now, since we cannot cover everything in one session, obviously we'll have a many number of sessions with this particular chapter itself. We started with this topic of synonyms. And what did I say? Whenever you're talking about synonyms, do not use the word same. What we have to say? These are the words that have similar definition or meanings, right? And I also told you that certain places you can interchange words, but in certain other situations you cannot interchange the synonyms. Kis context में क्या बोलना है, that will come only by practice. And we also saw a good number of examples. ठीक है? And I'm again reiterating, read all these examples from your business communication also. Those also will help you a lot, right? So for tomorrow's session, we'll continue with this topic of antonyms and go ahead, right? So that's all for the day, guys. Revise this again.